right, and a hearty welcome to the Rabyd Nation. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Rabyd Atheist, and we're doing our reaction live stream on Saturday. Welcome. I am your host, Ed Rabyd, a former pastor, turned atheist, now a compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel, and welcome to the stream. What is this stream going to be about? Well, I was originally going to react to a radio sermon by John Ramirez, but every time I uploaded it, it would switch from English to Spanish, and I couldn't switch it back. So I don't know if he's got something in his the way he uploads his videos. So when people try to react to them or do stuff, it switches language and all that jazz. So being fully fully conscious of the fact that I have many languages in the audience, but I wasn't really prepared to react to something in Spanish when I originally heard it on YouTube in English. So it was kind of weird. So I I have uploaded a different video that's not really a sermon, but it's the same guy, and it was interviewed about 13 days ago by another channel, and I want to deal with this. I want to deal with this issue of Halloween, and this video that I just literally listened to about a half hour ago. It's very triggering to me as a former Pentecostal. So you'll need to understand that I understand the language that's being used here. I understand what these guys are doing, but a lot of the theme tonight is going to be how people in this kind of religious box perceive the world, how it's been kind of certain meanings of words are very emotionally attached to things. So that's kind of what we're going to be dealing with here. So we'll deal with all that. But once again, thanks everybody. I do have only one requirement, that you be a subscriber to participate in chat, and you have to be a subscriber for at least 5 minutes when I do a reaction. It's just to keep the drive-bys away. I'm more interested in, having a good, thoughtful discussion on this topic, because I felt, well, as I was listening to this video about a half hour ago, I'm like, oh man, I'm going back. I'm going back into, no matter how much, it's Godfather 3, no matter how much I try to get out, they keep pulling me back, kind of thing. So there's a lot of what I would call charismatic Pentecostal language in this guy. And so there's that aspect of it. So there you go. We'll see where this one goes. I don't think it's like what Dave does at Captive Desk, on Saturday Night at the Atheist, which is probably still going on, where he's finding the worst video creators or whatever. But this might be close. So there you go. And we'll see what happens. So, all right. Let's see who's here before I get going too much. So we have Fred, who's always here. He's always here pretty early. Here, let me get me set up. There we go. Thumbs up. And then let's see. Oh, Lisa for Truth. Have not seen Lisa in a while. Good to see you. I'm glad to know you're okay. I worry about people. People ask me if I worry about the people that show up in chat. And yes, unfortunately, that's part and parcel of being Ed. So I'm sorry about that. Whenever I have a connection with people, I end up worrying about them in some way when I don't see them for a while. So, and then Evan is early. Michael, you might be handy during this video. He talks about Germany, so that might be interesting to get an actual German's perspective. So, Wolf is here. The other Wolf is here. So both wolves are in the house. So beware. Decibel, good to see you. I haven't responded to your comment yet because I'm still thinking about it. So I'll let you know what's going on in a little bit. So, but thanks for your patience. Appreciate that. Martin, welcome. Let's see. And the lovely lap in which our Lord naps. All hail Fangs. The lovely, the wonderful I killed Earl. So there we go. That's what we have so far. Is it better or worse than Mike Driscoll? You'll have to be the judge. So without further ado, I'm going to pull these people up.
Evangelist John.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna. This happens on. He'll introduce the channel here in a bit. I'm gonna, because this is an interview and there's really nothing for you to see per se. I'll go with the larger size so you can see my reaction a little bit better. My face is probably going to contort a couple of times. So, but here we go. This guy is an evangelist. He travels around. So there's that. Already. Okay. Yeah, where we go. But the title of the video is A Prophetic Warning for Halloween 2025. This was produced about 13 days ago. It's an interview that they're going back for. I think the main goal is to shill the guy's book, John Ramirez's book. I've seen John before in the Pentecostal circuit, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Michael, but he's going to talk about the demonic stronghold that is Germany today. So I thought you would be very, very interested in knowing what kind of demonic stronghold you're living in, Michael. So there you go. Thanks, Decimal. Appreciate that. Well, there we go. That's the hat fun. That's 4 to go. Hey, skeptic. Outstanding. Skeptic philosophy in the house. Just for my sake, you need to understand this is throwing me back into my own Pentecostal days, which are now, holy shit, almost 20 years behind me. So, but the language has not changed. Okay, it is still the same Pentecostal nonsense it was before, but here we go. So let's get into this.
Larry Sparks here with Destiny Image. I'm here with evangelist John Ramirez. John, what I love about you, I think there's people on the planet, when they wake up, they make the devil nervous. I feel like you make the enemy nervous, because what you're doing, and we're going to dive right on into the conversation, John, what you're doing, and I feel this from the Lord, you are multiplying combat-ready believers. I feel like you're discipling and deploying believers who are ready to literally take the fight to the enemy and advance the kingdom of God. So
Okay. Oh my, I'm having a hard time with this one. There's so much, and that's a good pause there with him shaking his fist, because it's like I remember hearing this stuff all the time. Like, there are certain people that make the devil nervous when they wake up, and you want to be a person that when you wake up, the devil and his demons go, oh shit, he's awake again. That sort of thing. It is kind of one of those things where you create this false sense of empowerment. So, yeah, the armor of God. So who is the enemy again? You're not sure? Okay, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Okay, so, but yes, but I don't know. The idea that the devil is real, demons are real, that spiritual warfare is real is very present in this video. Ramirez claims to be a former priest in satanic worship or something, and high up in the satanic level. I hate to say it, but I get really, other than Mike Warnke was funny sometimes, this guy kind of gives me the same Mike Warnke vibes of, I was this big satanic priest and now I'm a preacher for Jesus kind of thing. I think that's very interesting that that's the way it is with him. So, yeah, making the devil nervous is kind of an arrogant projection. Yeah, Satan is afraid of us. We're tough. Yes. Yeah, I don't think these guys could beat up an old lady, but that's fine. So here we go. But there, it's very, very, very interesting that this guy is giving this John a pretty good hype up here. So I wanted to stop there to let I've heard this stuff before. It's always very, very fun. So yes, very common banter in the Pentecostal church. For those of you like Earl and others that were into woo, you're going to hear a similarity in language with Pentecostal charismatic type leaders. Just change out the terminology a little bit, and you're going to. They have kind of the same attitude, although yes, but yeah. It's going to be fun. I want to smash my mobile phone. We both. maybe. Yes, the role playing game is their life. Yes, that's what they're doing.
I love what you're doing, brother.
Man, well, likewise, my brother. I know that we share the battlefield together because it's like the baseball team, right? Whether you play shortstop, someone play third base, outfield, pitcher, we wear the same uniform. We got to do what we got to do to win that championship for Jesus, amen, here on the earth and bring that trophy home.
Now,
okay, so I have a problem with that kind of mentality. Like, isn't Jesus like capable of winning the trophy by himself? Like, if we're God in human form, it seems like I don't need the rest of the team. Okay, so I'm not really sure about the analogy here of the American baseball. You know, is a little bit more worldwide than it used to be, but it's like it's. Does Jesus need an outfielder? Does Jesus need a designated hitter? You know, I don't understand. So, yeah, yeah, it's kind of, you don't play baseball, you play handball. Yeah, that's probably the first part there, Michael Wolf. There you go. Yeah, Jesus is always, yeah, this is the thing, skeptic. Jesus is always the coach. And we're all the players because we got to have some sort of sense of our own importance. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things where people think more of themselves. They want to think of themselves as important, but they don't really realize that what they're saying kind of doesn't make sense given like the God factor. So yeah, they don't really get it. But yes, he's always the coach. All powerful, omnipresent. Why bother show up to practice? Yes. Yes, it is kind of a superhero thing. So it's kind of pathetic. Yes.
when you started, you had a book called Out of the Devil's Cauldron, which is your testimony.
Yeah.
And for those of you who have never heard or read John's testimony, it's powerful. It's explosive. That was your first book. There it is. That's part
one.
Part one, and then right after that is when we got to connect with you. We did Unmasking the Devil, which is more of a
awesome, amazing.
It was awesome. It was a great teaching book about really exposing the tactics and the strategies of the enemy. But here we are in 2025. You have Out of the Devil's Cauldron, the next chapter. What provoked you to share this message?
Okay, I want everybody to understand at this point. There's a lot of the shilling of this book, so bear with it. Every time I see one of these preachers that deals with quote unquote spiritual warfare, they do not fail to have a book. They always have a book. I could have probably lined my library as a pastor with book after book that these kind of people produce. It's usually self-published, or it's published at some Christian publisher. I remember one time I tried to take a bunch of Christian books to a book dealer that traded and sold books, and he was only willing to give me like a quarter on all Christian books because he's like, I got a whole warehouse full of these things. So, there's that. But yes. I can't take. Okay, testimony. Yes. Yeah, that's kind of the way it is.
Oh man, what provoked me was I was home. I took a sabbatical. There was a lot going on, and my eyesight. I had two semicolon transplants and gone through a lot. And then I was watching Times Square Church online, and then Tim Delina was preaching on, which kind of heard it one day, but it just flew right over my head. That David Wilkerson wrote a book called, we know the Cross and the Switchblade. David Wilkerson is a classic. It sold 52 million copies. But he wrote another book that no one really knows about, Beyond the Cross and the Switchblade, which things that God did with him, with Team Challenge, Times Square Church, and other amazing things that God did with this amazing.
For some of us, it's going to be kind of a way back. I remember the Cross and the Switchblade. It was turned into a movie. There was a whole bunch of stuff. Wilkerson kind of founded Teen Challenge as a way of getting people off drugs and life-controlling problems. And the definition of life-controlling problem has been expanded to so large that, you know, it's gotten way out of hand. So it's they have a high success rate, but it's, as I've said before, you just replace one addiction with another. So there's that. You've never been in the fold. This is scary. I mean, those are adults. Yes. You need to understand that the make believe that Pentecostal Christians play is very, very high, and they take it very, very seriously. So you need to remember that when you're watching these two guys. These are full grown ass adults that are playing a very large game of make believe, shilling a book in the process. And this guy's going to make some pretty audacious claims about what he's done in his ministry. So hang on, it gets even better. So here we go.
He's a man of God. So it hit my spirit, and then God said, I want you to write out of Devil's Cauldron on the other side of the cross. And you know, and we all can live that, right? We all can say we got saved, we got baptized, we got filled with the Holy Spirit. Every person that had an encounter with Jesus Christ, you have a testimony, right? But then what is the other side of the redemption
I know
like?
that.
What the other side of the cross looks like? What have you done on the other side of the cross? That Jesus has used you, done things, touched people's lives, transformed people's lives, done signs, miracles, and wonders in other people's lives throughout the world, right? Because I've been traveling all over the place, Japan, Germany, London, all the Caribbeans. I remember going to St. Croix, and the warlock, the witch doctor from St. Croix, the one that ran the town, walked into the meeting, pushed everybody to the side, put the finger in my face and said, I'm the witch doctor from St. Croix. I came to destroy your meeting. And I have a Christianity ghetto mindset, right?
Okay, so Christianity ghetto mindset. I had to top. I'm not making this any better, Michael. Okay, uh, you know, fireman. I'm with you. Welcome to the channel. But firemen, yes. Aliens, yes. Very much so. But yes, you got to understand that when Pentecostals do this stuff, they always have to have these stories and these testimonies. Now, mind you, the 99% of the time they don't have pictures, they don't have any real anything like that. Yeah, it's all the Caribbean, London. You got to understand, Michael, this guy's going to talk about the dark stronghold that is like England, Germany, the Caribbean, all these places where you don't really have what you would consider other things. But he's going to do something here that I want to talk about too, which is how a lot of people in Pentecost and Christianity get these emotionally loaded words. So when you pull them up, people automatically think a certain thing. And in Pentecost, he's doing all the emotionally loaded things of there's a witch doctor that came to my meeting. All of a sudden the book of Acts is in everybody's brain. It's a front loading that he knows is already there. Like he knows he's not talking to an audience of atheists. Okay, so there's that aspect of it. But yeah, like in his other video I was going to do, like he talks about the different symbols of Halloween, like pumpkins and, just a pumpkin with a candle in it, right? But all of a sudden he made it into a gateway into the spiritual realm. And you'll see this throughout this video where normal everyday things become somehow spiritual and part of spiritual loading. Like it's part of turning something ordinary into a spiritual thing that has emotional connection. And Pentecostals do this all the time. I learned about this when I was a Pentecostal. Like I'm like watching people basically front load a bunch of shit and then they just endow it. But this idea of we got to have dark places like the Caribbeans and the Londons and Germany that our spiritual warfare, our light goes into. And we have to, fight the devil and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's very much a look at the trees in some way. It's a very spiritualized look at the trees. Yes. Yeah, you definitely have that.
So I said, well, you want Psalms 91 or you want John 3:16. Pick one. He said, you don't talk like a Christian. I said, I'm not at this point. This is spiritual warfare. I can give you, you're going to repent We give you John.
So when you go into spiritual warfare at that moment, you're not a Christian. That's exactly what that guy said. I'm not sure he meant to say it that way. Yeah, there's no victory plan, because if you win and destroy the devil, then there's nothing to show your book about. Okay, spiritual warfare lives on that idea, by the way. That's a very good point, Kyle, because these people that believe in spiritual warfare, like, there is never, what's the overall strategy to win the war? Like, it's never that. It's like a constant battle that's never going to end. It's just the eternal struggle, all that stuff. And that's very convenient because you can always put out a book every year. Okay. And a lot of these people, I'm going to tell you, there's some people into the spiritual warfare stuff. They make a shit ton of money off this kind of stuff. Okay. Like, it's there. Hey, Christian. Okay. These guys. Thanks, Cranky. Good to see you, Cranky. Yeah, they probably should. I'm not sure you want them there. Like, I'm fairly certain that there's several people that they tell me they're going to heaven, and it's like, well, there's another reason not to want to go. So there we go.
3:16. But if you want spiritual warfare at its best, then I got Psalm 91. Pick one. So it was a battle, and it was an amazing. I mean, we talking about spiritual warfare at the altar, good versus evil, and it's crazy about it. It's like, that's what I used to be, like that warlock, right? And then he's looking at me saying, well, I can be like that guy if I give my life to the Lord.
Wow.
Okay. I got to stop there, seeing they did. Yeah, this kind of testimony is actually very common in the Pentecostal church. People who used to be woo of some kind and then became Christians because, oh, that's greater power. It's very much that Simon the Sorcerer kind of thing in the book of Acts, where that kind of story goes over well with Pentecostal because it's a repeating story. Like, you have this person that used to be on the devil's side and now is on the good side, and that Pentecostals eat that shit up. Okay. All you have to do is make up a nice testimony and you can do it. So there you go. Yeah. There is a lot of fear in this type of Pentecost. You're always waking up with a battle mindset. You artificially create what I would call this warfare mentality that you're constantly living in. So there's not a real war there, but you're living in it every day. And I don't know if it's as powerful as people that actually go through war, but it sure as hell seems like these people are always stressed out about something. Like, oh, we got to stop this because this is the devil or this is that. And it becomes a real struggle. Because when people believe this, like if you talk to people that believe this stuff that may not be the leaders, it's hard to get them out of that mindset of, oh my God, the devil's coming after my children. The devil's coming after my career. The devil got into all the stoplights today as I was going to work, so I was late to work. Like, everything is about the warfare. It's like it's not about living life and enjoying it. Like, you can't enjoy life in this mindset. Okay. You can't just, look at the wonder of nature and go, yeah, this is cool. But yes. So yeah, if God always wins the war, why bother to fight? They never ask that question, Fred. Okay. We got to fight because God tells us to fight. Okay. So specific system, very lucrative. Yes. Yes, it is. Yes. Woo. Or woo. Yes. Yeah. He is, this guy is a little bit off the chain. This is stuff I used to live in. Okay. Like, there was this phase in my life when I was Pentecostal. I was very spiritually warfare oriented because it appealed to me, but I had to give it up because it's too stressful. Like, I'm like, yeah, sometimes you have to do spiritual warfare. Sometimes you need to rest, need some R&R in the back country kind of thing. But the warfare analogy here's the other thing that's insidious about this. He's going to mention some things that are political. He's going to talk about politics in the future of this video, and he turns it into a spiritual thing. So can you imagine what happens when you have this spiritual mindset and then you look at reality and say, oh, this is the spiritual enemy, and how you begin to think about that people or group of people. So yes. So it's a little bit. Okay, fair enough. They're a lot off the chain, Katie. Okay, they're a lot. It's going to get even better.
Wow. And that's amazing what you're seeing around the world. I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about the book, but John, give us a perspective, because we've been following your ministry. We have so many mutual friends. What are you seeing God do around the world right now? I know we're moving into October and it's Halloween, and every time, it almost seems like yeah. But let me ask you this. What do you see spiritually? Because it seems like people are very hungry spiritually.
Well, I see an army rising up. I see an army of believers I call them the unknowns, because they all over the place. David had 400 in the cave. They were unknown, but they knew how to fight spiritual warfare. God is raising up his church for the end time. God is raising up a remnant, a select group of believers that want to be in the battlefield. They want to fight the good fight. Because when you and I write books, right, we don't write it for ourselves. We write it for others, right? Because that is the message of the book, is to captivate, touch, set someone free. So around the world, I've seen God doing miracle signs and wonders. I mean, you can't see Jesus unless he's revealed. And that's what's happening.
Okay. Well, that's a nice admission that you can't see Jesus unless he's revealed to you. So, yeah, it's hard to follow unless you were a Pentecostal and grew up in this stuff. Um, yeah, and I agree with you, Decibel. This guy's a little bit more scary. Driscoll is offensive. This guy's scary because a lot of people believe this stuff. There's a lot of emotionally loaded words here that if you get into spiritual warfare, you start to redefine words and they have an emotional connection. And then this guy is really tapping into that. Okay. Like when you get inside the Pentecostal church, I tell you, all you atheists out there, if you've never been to a Pentecostal church, go to one. Sit in the back and then try to get out of there early and see what happens. I mean, you could go to one of these meetings and they'll probably point a finger at you. I see a spirit of darkness around you. And so, yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff here that if you grow up in this, it's normal. Everybody else kind of looks at it. Everybody else kind of looks at it as differently. Okay. Like they look at you and they're going like, man, that's just strange. That's just weird. But it becomes a haven for people like this. Like they love the language. Yeah. I mean, I get the WTF moment. I really do. I really do. No, he's not a former Catholic. He's a former Satanist. So, he makes the claim that he was high up in the Satanic Church and now he's a Christian. He used to be a warlock of his own, so to speak. So, yeah, it's 2,000 years. And this is kind of what I wanted to get to, True. Spiritual warfare eventually gets turned over into a different kind of battle where you begin to look at different groups, different people as the enemy because they are influenced by the devil himself or by demons themselves. And so there's a spiritual warfare often gets used as a way to develop anger or outrage at certain social things. Like I was listening to Apologia's video, this last one about demons and devils and all that stuff and ghosts. And the guy in there is like doing what every Christian group has done for centuries is if you want to demonize a certain group or a certain individual, you just say that they're the thing being influenced by demons. When I was growing up, it was rock and roll. Like rock and roll was the devil because all the kids were listening to it. So it must be the devil. Okay. Whenever you see something that the Christian church is socially against, they will demonize it literally. And spiritual warfare people like this guy will do that very, very literally. And you're going to see that. So, yeah, it's pretty standard for a lot of Pentecostal churches. So, yeah, I was Assembly's God too. So Pentecostals on steroids for a long time. I grew up in that. So this is kind of giving me flashbacks and a little PTSD. I'll be honest. The sacrifices I make to do reaction videos of this sort. So yes, they are very much using the word spirit in a different way. Yes, grifter alert, grifter alert. Boo. Thanks, Cranky. Appreciate it. Boo right back here. Yeah, I don't know, dude. You need to work on it. You're a cranky elder god and you're not as scary as you used to be. You might be losing a step. I'm just saying you might want to work on it. Get that edge back. you know. So there's that. You're not an asshole. It's just the demons taking over. Yes, that's kind of what it is. That's the mentality, really, honestly.
Happening around the world. In the darkest places, in the most challenging places, the Holy Spirit shows up and just tear down wars, tear down stronghold, bondage, generational curses, tear down. I mean, I'm talking about the demonic of the darkest places in the demonic kingdom. God is stripping them naked completely and setting the captives free.
And I have to think, like, living on the other side of the cross literally looks like us walking in the victory of Christ, enforcing his authority. Like, when we describe this other side of the cross lifestyle, what does that look like in terms of spiritual victory, deliverance?
Oh wow, that's a term I haven't heard in a while. Yeah, I was kind of intrigued. By that myself. Naked demons sign me up. But yes, there's a real ego here behind everything they just said. Like I'm on the other side of the cross. I'm really doing spiritual warfare. Um, Pentecostalism really appeals to an ego of a people that don't really have a reason to have, like, Pentecostalism, when it first started out, appealed to the poor, the power over circumstances it promised, all this other stuff. And that is still its biggest selling point to a lot of people. So, but yes, they're like, we're really taking, we're the ones doing work for the kingdom. We're tearing down the strongholds of the devil. This language is very, very common when I was growing up in the Pentecostal church. The Assemblies of God is full of this kind of stuff. And so it definitely triggering to me of the past. Okay, I used to hear this stuff all the time. And if you don't grow up in it, Ray, it is hard to understand. But their belief is that they are literally soldiers fighting a spiritual battle. Okay, and so once you put yourself in that mindset, you're kind of going to get it a little bit more. But yes, they talk this way, so that's that. So yeah, strip demons or strip demonic faces naked. I don't know. I think with Pentecostals, they're so like sex nudity starved that they come up with excuses to use those words. So trust me, I grew up in it. So yeah. The fundy Christians in the media are kind of underwhelming compared to Pentecostal spiritual warfare types. Like spiritual warfare types, they are off the chain when it comes to their beliefs. So they may not have a chain. So they're just kind of running around. So there you at. Soldiers. Okay. All right. Yeah. The puns. Yeah. Dad pun alert.
Etc.
And man, us like Christians, right? We the only Christian religion that carries an authority that the devil hates and the devil is intimidated by. He's not intimidated.
Okay, now that is an ego trip to the moon. Can you imagine the absolute balls you have to have, like foolhardy balls, but balls nonetheless, to sit there and believe that the only religion that has authority over this imaginary creature called the devil is yours, and you just happen to be one of them? Like, when I used to hear spiritual warfare people as a Christian, it used to drive me nuts for this reason. But literally, I'm the only one that's taken the shit to the devil. I'm the only one that's got the truth. I'm in the only religion that actually takes authority over the devil. It's like, holy crap, what you have to believe about yourself to believe that. Like somehow God has reached down from heaven and pointed his finger at you and picked you. What? Holy shit, is the ego high on this one? But it's like, you really have to think. So there's that. Oh my goodness. Likes them so much. Yeah, they're really told to be kind of an ideological military from birth. Like spiritual warfare people, you grow up in churches like this. It's not surprising that a lot of kids that come out of this mentality join the military. Yeah, I was always amazed at how many Assemblies of God kids joined the military, but then now I think about it, it's not that surprising. So Satan wants to erect a rigid kingdom come. Okay, I see what you did there, Michael. But yes, they believe that way, but they don't talk this way. But the mentality is still the same. These people like do. Yes, it's I am the way, the truth, exclusively the authority over the devil. Yes, it's very Christian, but these guys actually say the quiet part out loud, and they live that way. That's what's even more scary, Cranky, is spiritual warfare types. They live this shit like they do.
Intimidated by other religions. He's not intimidated by other religions, how they pray, what they do, and how they do it. It's just Christianity. It's Christianity. It's the cross of Jesus Christ, the finished work of the cross. The devil is intimidated. He is fearful over that. It's sad to say not many Christians understand it, right? So God would bring people like yourself, myself, to explain it to disciples, to show them. I mean, I was in Japan a couple of years ago, and they bought this little Japanese girl. She was like 12 years old, around there, and I don't speak Japanese, and she don't speak English. They brought her over to the altar. She had a trauma spirit because she was bullied so much in school that she had a trauma spirit, and it's in the book.
Okay. Now, notice what they did there. This is one of those emotionally laden terms that you'll hear in spiritual warfare churches. Is like they will attach everything to a spirit. Okay, so if psychologists come up with the idea of trauma, okay, what a spiritual warfare person will do is endow that with a little bit more emotional meaning and will thump on the idea of trauma spirit. Okay, so now it's not a psychological problem that this little girl has, it's a spiritual problem that she has. And so we got to pray it away. We got to get rid of it. Okay, this guy's going to say some shit that he thinks is all demonically enforced. And many of you who deal with this on a regular basis aren't going to be that surprised. I've dealt with this now almost 6 years, and I'm not surprised by some of the shit that they label as spiritual or satanic. So there's that. Yeah, it's gross, really, Decibel. It really is. Okay, to them, well, it's trauma, but they're going to encapsulate it in spiritual form to justify their spiritual warfare against. This is where the demon throwing out the demons and all this stuff comes from. Like they'll take psychological stuff and they will superimpose their Pentecostal meaning over it. And then now it's changed it from a big thing, like a real problem that people could handle. Oh, now you got to have the power of God to handle it. So there's you go. There's that. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing is you can, if you're ready for it, like if you were already like a Bible thumper skeptic, I can see where Pentecost, like if you're reading the other parts of the Bible that the Baptists don't want to deal with, that's what I used to yell at Baptists when I was a Pentecostal. Like there's parts of the Bible you just don't want to deal with, isn't there? And yeah, that kind of arrogance. But yes, anybody who's like a real fundy type can fall into Pentecost and spiritual warfare. It's not that difficult to make the transition. It's just really, really funny to me now. Like I listen to this stuff and go, oh my God. It's kind of scary too. Like a lot of you are listening and you're going, yeah, this is kind of scary. Yeah, it is, because these guys really believe this stuff. Like this isn't like, I mean, he's shilling a book and he's doing some stuff, but there's probably a very sincere belief that he's doing good with it. Okay. And that's the problem. So we invented vibrators to treat women. Yeah, I guess that's probably true. I knew that I was more than a conqueror and I could make the devil free by resisting him in Jesus' name. Yes. Yeah, we had, that was a speech I was giving often when I was in the Assemblies of God. So you gotta remember who you are in Jesus. You can make these people run.
And she had a trauma spirit, and they had to remove her from school because she couldn't talk anymore. She lost her voice. She lost her identity. She lost her purpose. She lost her destiny. 12-year-old, a little Japanese girl. So I lay hands on her, I pray over her. I mean, again, you know how the enemy works, because we don't see something in the natural right away. We think that the prayer didn't touch heaven. The prayer didn't have no power. The prayer had no authority. But the eighth day, That was my last day there, 8th day, new beginnings. They brought the little girl up again. She came up again, and I lay hands. I said, Lord, I'm not leaving Japan until you set her free. You believe my brother Larry, I lay hands. This girl fell backwards, a 12-year-old girl. And we had a translator. Think about it, the power of God. A translator, me talking English, telling him about spiritual warfare prayer, and he translated to her to receive it, broke it completely and fully. The girl fell on the floor, came out crying, came out talking again. And the amazing thing, she kept talking. She came out talking again. She got her voice back. She got her identity back. And then she refused. She said, wait. And I said, okay. I mean, I know what that means. That's, universal. Wait. So I waited. She came back with a little bag full of crayons for my daughter. How she knew she was going to be set free?
Right.
Only God.
Wow.
Okay, now I listen to stories like that now, and to the uninitiated into Pentecost, this sounds impressive, but you need to realize he's openly admitting that he's been talking to this little girl, he's been teaching her, he's been indoctrinating her. Like the fact that if you have an expectation in a service that people are going to fall backwards under the power of God, that emotional expectation is in the service, and then she's looking around and seeing that happen, eventually she's going to go along with it, okay, or believe it or something. And she's 12. She's flipping 12. Okay, I don't understand why people think that this is such a flex. You literally indoctrinated a little girl, okay? Like, this is not hard to do. Anybody can do this. This is why you have to be very careful with kids. Like, you have to be careful with teenagers, for God's sake. Yeah, it's like, good grief. Yeah. Disease demons is a good way for deconverting. It gets really weird. Yeah, invented to treat hysteria. That's the only good thing that came of that idea. Man, I get it. I really do. Like, a lot of people get really close to. Yeah, it's a big flex, isn't it? Like, we had this big encounter with the devil. She had a trauma spirit. We began to talk to her, indoctrinate her. Oh, wait, I don't want to use the word indoctrinate, and then all of a sudden she has another experience and she comes out of that being able to talk. First of all, I want documentation on this, because a lot of these guys tell stories and they're making shit up. Okay, they're like literally making shit up. But I'm sure there was no camera, there was none of that crap. So we just have a story. Okay, and anybody can tell the story. Okay, I don't know how it impresses people. So he convinced a 12-year-old that she had a demon. That tracks exactly. Like, she had a traumatic experience, skeptic, and I think what she needed was to talk to somebody about it, or somebody to talk to her about it, sit her down with it. But she ends up in a Pentecostal service instead, and she's looking like, I can see somebody who'd been through a traumatic, looking for anything that'll give them hope or some sort of release or whatever. Yeah, Pentecost can do that. Pentecost, I'll bet if we did studies of different religions and how it hits that endorphin center of the brain, just like drugs and alcohol and sex, that Pentecost would be very high up on there. It is a very emotionally laden experience. When you're a Pentecostal, you're constantly being emotionally loaded with this spiritual information, quote unquote. And yeah, I can see why, in a sense, it might work. Okay, because she's 12. Okay, she's 12. Yeah, it's in our DNA, I suppose. Pentecostal youth, Hitler youth, same when it comes to implanting ideas. Yes, interviewing deconverted man. Yes, yeah, same kind of thing. All right, yeah, let me check it out. Just a shout out to the mighty Philbert there. He not only does music for my channel, he's got a channel of his own. So he has a Mormon missionary. You thought you had magical powers. Yeah, these guys do too. They do too. And they're the true faith, by the way. They would probably consider Mormons to be not the true faith, but a cult.
And it doesn't sound like God is intimidated by these places. And that's a strange thing to say, but whether it's Japan or Great Britain or these hard and dark places, you're dealing with warlocks and witch doctors, God is not intimidated by those people, and he's not intimidated by those places.
You know, an amazing thing. I mean, God is God, no matter where you are in the planet, in the universe. I don't care where you are. God will be God. Jesus will be Jesus all day long.
Hey, no
every day.
problem, man.
I was in Germany. There was a family that came. Is in the book, and I share this one story quick. It was in the book, and the family came, and they had ties to Hitler. They had ties to Hitler through the grandfather. They had a lot.
Okay. I have to stop. This is what I was talking about, Michael. This is for you. Okay, there's a whole section here that's just for you, Michael. Welcome here. Okay. There we go. Yeah, I know. They're talking about spiritual warfare. You have to put yourself in that mindset, Joshua. I'm sorry. So you need to be listening here. Here we go.
Stuff. So the son was 27. He committed suicide 6 months before I came to Germany. So when they came to Germany, they came to the meeting, and the first night we preached on a nail in the coffin. So the next day they came back and said, listen, we want to share something with you. And that afternoon, before the night service, I went to the Holocaust Museum in Germany. And I saw this big orange book with behind thick glass. It said Hell Hitler. It was some encyclopedia book, some crazy book this demonic devil wrote. And that night in the meeting, they said, we want to bring some stuff because we want to renounce it. We want to be right with God. This had to do with our grandfather, that somehow he had ties to the regime of Hitler. So they brought the stuff over. That same exact book that was behind thick glass setting in the Holocaust Museum, they had one. They bought it. That was the curse that killed the family. They raped each other. They molested each other. They hated each other. When we took these things, and the devil was telling me, Brother Larry, there was keep the book. You can sell it, and you can make a lot of money for the ministry. And the Holy Spirit said, burn it. Burn that thing. We burned everything. They hugged each other. They cried over each other. They forgave each other because there's power in forgiveness, man. They was restored. The whole family was completely restored. That whole dark black mantle that was over them for years, that the 27-year-old son took his life. God removed everything, even in Germany.
Even in a place that's secular. Sometimes, yes.
Okay, notice at the end, I want to catch that as a political scientist type, and this goes to something that me and Earl were talking about privately earlier. Notice what he just did. He just used the word secular in the context of darkness. This is emotional loading right there in process. Like any believer who just heard that word secular is now going to connect it to this whole demonic story about Germany and Hitler and all the rest of it. Okay. But notice we had a book burning, which is ironic. Michael, don't you think? Isn't it ironic that these occult books were burned? I know my history of World War II, and I've read a lot of books. It was one of my favorite topics when I was younger to study, and I know some of this stuff. But it's like the occult is very much a part of Hitler's upbringing, and I get that. But it's like, this guy really thinks that there was this demonic force that goes all the way back to the beginning. I don't know how to deal with this, Michael. I honestly don't, because it's like he's basically making the claim that this family that had connections with our favorite Austrian corporal suddenly gets freed from all that. They have these occult books that are written by demons and all this stuff. And I wanted to know what the hell he was talking about in the Holocaust Museum. I've never been there, but it's like, I don't get it. So I'm giving my takes on such. There you go. Go ahead. You're always welcome to get over your social anxieties. Tweakers for Jesus. God is intimidated in Eden and Babylon. The God. Okay, there we go. But I'm already wondering why a German family would go to their service. I also wonder what the book is supposed to be. Well, the religious belief is a cult. These guys are a cult too. Yes. And that's the thing. That's what was bothering me too, Michael, is like, give me a title of the book What are you talking about? If it's in the Holocaust Museum and it's behind glass, they're not going to give that shit up just because some guy wanted them to. It's something that's theirs. And I was really, this story absolutely puzzled me because of the past. I don't understand it. Yeah, see, and you've probably never been there either. But yes, yeah, it's an orange book. I don't know what it was. But yeah, it's like he wouldn't give the title. And I find that sus. At that point, I'm like, yeah, you're blowing smoke out of your ass at this point. There's the problem is these people are very sincere believers, but they don't have a problem lying. And that's the real problem with a lot of faith and religion is you just don't have a problem lying in order to boost your faith. But I was really like the issue of connecting secularism to like demonology has always been a fascinating thing because secular very much means without religion. So it's like I don't know, the Orange Catholic Bible from Noon, that might be a good one. Daco, okay, there you go. Yeah, that's a sobering one too, I'm sure. I don't think. Okay, so like he's been given books from the family. He doesn't want to become, but he becomes demon possessed. Yeah, but it was like it was so weird. This story was so weird to me. It just there's something off about it, and it's just strange to me. But I knew Michael might be here, and I'm like, can you enlighten me? Because I heard it, and I'm like, I don't understand what the hell they're talking about. Like, why? To me, a family that's like 4 generations from whatever, like you shouldn't be having guilt about that anymore. That's not you. Okay, this is one of my problems with people digging up the past and applying it to current people. It's like things have changed. Okay, it's not the same. Okay, and I really, keeping that stuff alive to just sometimes, yeah. Portraits of fallen Nazis put there by families to pray for them, a prominent child. Or Covey's was Mein Kampf. Yes, and that's what I thought too. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? This orange book written by a demonic person. I'm like, well, what? What? I was kind of confused. So thanks for kind of clearing that up. That I think now, based on what you said and based on what I think and what I know, yeah, I think he's kind of full of shit at this point. I don't think that's either not a real story or the real story is something completely different.
Yes.
Dark. I mean, pitch black dark of evil, satanic, loving. They had people in Germany, and I said this, I was shocked when I heard them say it. It was like, oh, we wish we had Hitler back. We wish we had Hitler. I mean, just the demonic that was going on. I remember that my lung was pierced spiritually. I couldn't breathe for the whole week that I was in Germany because the spiritual warfare was that intense. But God showed up, and God set wonderful people free.
Well, and I want to encourage folks who are watching the book, the new one, Out of the Devil's Cauldron, next chapter on the. You hold that up because you actually have the copy there. What I want to encourage you guys is this: number one, great book, highly recommend John Ramirez. But I feel like John, this is an essential guidebook, training book for every believer to be a destructive disciple. What does that mean?
Yeah. I mean,
You're destroying the powers of darkness.
the arm and dangers. I look at Charlie Kirk, right?
Yeah.
Charlie. Look at Charlie, the life of Charlie, right? I mean, my heart goes out. He's my brother in Christ. He's your brother in Christ. We leap, right? Stephen was stoned. We wept over Stephen. They wept over Stephen. Jesus just said, before Abraham was, I am. They was going to throw him off the cliff because he was talking the truth. The disciples unlearned, right? Charlie was unlearned. And technically he was unlearned because he had.
Okay, so now we're going to get a justification of not having an education because that might ruin your proper understanding of spiritual warfare. This was also a very common trope when I was growing up. Like, you don't want to get too educated. When I was a pastor, I used to get that all the time, which was like, you're too educated to be a Pentecostal. And I'm like, what? So, but yeah, there was definitely this interest in it. Yeah. Oh, okay. So the hippie generation already did it. Yeah, I can see that. So the people may be saying that wanting Hitler back, the ones aligned with MAGA and directly supported by the likes of Musk. Yes, I understand that. Okay, like Hitler had that appeal. He definitely had that appeal. Like he was, I still get that all the time. Like, people talk about atheism and you immediately get the Hitler response. Well, Hitler was an atheist. And it's like, no, no, he wasn't. But yeah, it's like, it's more their ilk that lines up with that than others. So it's interesting. All I had to do was get out of the devil's car to get a ride share take me home. Okay, there you go. Thanks, Josh. That's 3. 2 more to go. Protect your religion. It's false and moral, and they know it. Don't get too educated. You might learn something real. Yeah, I know. You had to be like, wasn't the majority of Germany at the time was either Catholic or Lutheran, like 90%. So it was a Christian nation. Like, and I remember reading Mein Kampf a long time ago, but I got the impression that Hitler felt he was doing God's work. So, like that he was about God's business when he wrote that. Like that's what he wanted. He was like saying, God has put me on this mission. So he was the farthest away from being an atheist that you could be. So there you go. Very white long. So I think I'm gonna. Yeah, see you later, Evan. You can always watch the rest of this later. But yeah, but yeah, like, Germany is now a spiritual battleground, Michael. Like you're going to have to, you're going to have to be mindful of the fact that there are demons and devils flying around according to these guys. So I thought I should warn you. Be careful.
No college degree, no nothing. But the disciples unlearned. But what did the Sanhedrin say? They've been with Jesus.
All that is saying, okay, I hate it when theists make a big deal out of that verse. Like they made note that they had been with Jesus. Yeah, you hung out with the dude. So what? Like, so what? It's like, and they take that little verse and say, okay, it's better to know Jesus than to be educated. And I used to preach a message. One of the messages that I was famous for when I was a pastor was called Knowing God. And it's from Jeremiah, where I can't remember the exact, it's Jeremiah 9 something, 23, I think, where let him who boasts boast in that he understands and knows me. And I used to run with that, because don't boast in your might, don't boast in your wisdom, all this other stuff, but know that you understand God. And it's this mentality that says knowledge of God is superior to knowledge in general. And that would be true if God actually existed or the God of the Bible existed, I suppose. But yes, yeah, it's like 97. Okay, thank you. I thought so. Like all theists inventing the God that suits them. Yes, exactly. And that's the thing. It's like there's this contrast in Pentecostalism that being hyperly spiritual and reading your Bible and praying and knowing Jesus and knowing God is so much superior. But it's like, no, it's not. It just isn't that. Yeah, I know. It's kind of we're having fun with that, me and Earl, by the way. So definitely one of those things.
Charlie would be with Jesus, man. I mean, and the devil was angry because the man had an anointing in his life that he could regenerate the minds of the generation of today.
Okay, no, this is a very interesting view on Charlie Kirk, and I know other people who knew Charlie Kirk that I don't think have this mindset. Okay, I haven't really talked about Charlie Kirk, other than to say it's a tragedy. I don't support any kind of political violence like that. I was actually looking forward to maybe getting big enough to actually have a debate with him, and it would probably go as well as the one he had with the Oxford students right before he died. I don't understand the mentality that wants to deify people like that simply because they get killed. I mean, I'm sorry, even among conservatives and Christians, Charlie Kirk was a controversial figure. Like there was definitely some people that didn't like what he did. Obviously, one of them in particular took a rifle to him. But it's like it's a problem when you start to deify people because they stand for something, and I feel bad because I feel like Charlie Kirk was hitting his 30s, and I think he was starting to get a lot of more pushback. And I don't know what kind of a, because like he always had that talking point about how no society in the ancient world ever had homosexuality as part of marriage. And then when the one student pointed it out to them and had brought the receipts to that, his only response is, "Well, I still don't like it." So it's like after a while, you're going to end up thinking about that. And to me, the greatest thing that could have happened with Charlie Kirk is if he had lived and been convinced that he was wrong. Like, I think that's more important than anything else that could have happened to him. So there you go. You can't, not according to these people. You have to either be spiritual or educated. You can't do both. So the thing had to go. These guys are the hero feels and addicted. Yeah, they want the hero feels. It really is. So, but yes. Oh, thanks. Yeah, but it's like I would have rather Earl. Honestly, I would have rather Kirk lived, and at some point in his career, when he's debating, he's realizing, you know what, I might be wrong. Like, he's getting to an age where the arrogance of youth starts to come off of you. Okay, the 30s is where that happens. It happened to me. A lot of people I talk to, it's like when you're in your 20s, you're kind of full of yourself. And then at some point, you start to realize that the world might be just a little bit more complicated than you originally thought. And you start to rethink things. And I would have rather had Charlie Kirk eventually turn and realize that maybe I'm not so right as I thought I was. Okay. And it's that way I feel with a lot of these apologists. I really wish like some of them would just like, you know what? The more I listen, the more I think about it, maybe I'm wrong. To me, that's the victory you're looking for, not having somebody die due to political violence. It's like, and even better if two sides get together and they realize both of them, we got wrong parts and right parts, and maybe we can come together and work together on something. That's the future. And I don't understand what these guys are doing with deifying the guy. They're making him into a saint. He really wasn't. He's just a human being with an opinion. Okay. And the other side, I don't understand the hatred of him. Like, it's like, dude, you didn't beat him. Like, he went to his grave thinking the things he thought. That's not a victory for us. Okay. It's not a win. So I don't get it. I think it got me in some of the God churches that had tied everything to a demon. Yes, we used to do that too. It was constantly, oh, the demon got into this, demon got into that, demons in my kids. I felt sorry for kids growing up in the Assemblies of God church because they get a lot of prayer to get the demons taken. I'm infected with demons. Like, that's a real shitty thing to say to a kid, that the reason they behave that way is they're that. So yeah, the practicality of selling bullshit does start to dawn. And that was my worry for Charlie Kirk, but he already had a lot of money. Like, he was a rich man. People don't want to think about that, but the man probably was a millionaire. Like, his wife and kids ain't going to have anything to worry about. Like, if they just, it depends on how she manages things, I suppose. And of course, now she's, I hate to say it, but she's become an eligible bachelorette in another year. Just understand that. Okay. In the church world, being unmarried isn't a good thing. So yeah, it's a decade of change. I know it was for me. So yeah. Yeah, there can be that, but I also think that some people do, because Charlie was in that realm though, there he's constantly confronted with other ideas. And sooner or later you can't just keep doing talking points. I think I was wondering what the Oxford, Cambridge debate that he had an effect on him, because he brought his conservative Christian talking points and they all got slaughtered. And I think he knew it too. And that's going to cause you need to be reflective. He really come out better or worse from that experience. I don't think you can have an experience like that and not have a change. It was just I'm much more of if I can convince somebody that they're wrong, or if I get convinced that I'm wrong and I see good data and information for it, I'd rather go down that road. The problem with Pentecostalism is it never allows you to think that way. Like they're pushing the, knowledge of God is superior to knowledge of life. So yeah, like John Lennox, Habermas, WLC, they're in it too deep. But somebody like Charlie Kirk, somebody in that age range, like Inspiring Philosophy, a few others, I kind of wonder sometimes, like, can we? Yeah, he was there to propagandize, and he just got creamed doing it. And a propagandizer will go back, okay, what did I do wrong? Okay, because I need to get this set. So, yeah, he might have blocked it too. But I think on an emotional level, I would have gone out of that debate as a Christian going, you know what, that wasn't my A game, but man, I didn't expect it that. Yeah, Westhoff might be in that generation where he seems pretty arrogant about it. But sooner or later, you have that debate that chips your arrogance away. Okay, it's like you can't. Nobody's undefeated. Okay, if you look at Hitchens, for instance, let's talk about somebody on our side. There's a couple debates like, yeah, Hitchens wasn't there. Okay, he kind of lost the crowd, but it's like it's interesting to see that. Like I would rather see somebody calm down, listen to reason, and then if they make their mind to keep being a theist, that's fine. But at least they understand where I'm coming from as an atheist, listen to it and realize maybe I'm wrong about all atheists, and they kind of toe down that. Yeah. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I always hold out hope. Maybe I'm one of those hopeless people that believes that the better side of human nature will come out. Call me naive if you want, but I don't consider what happened to Charlie Kirk a win for anybody. Okay. So, and these guys are trying to make it a win for Jesus. And actually, I kind of get sickened by what they're doing. Okay. Like they're turning him into a martyr and he's not, like he shouldn't be. Okay. I mean, it's really kind of sad.
And steal it back from the devil.
Wow.
And take back what's on the devil's camp. That's spiritual warfare at its best. He gave it all to have it all in Jesus. And he made Jesus Christ proud because he fought the good fight. He went to the battle. He sat there and he loved on people. He didn't talk down. He didn't belittle nobody. He spoke one thing that people hate, the truth. And man, that's why people say, oh, it's politics. No, I said this is one thing.
Here we
When
go.
you speak that you can kill babies in the womb, you can take a young boy and turn him into a young girl, or you can take a young girl and make her a boy. That is not politics. That is spiritual. That is spiritual warfare. But the devil.
Okay, well, I want you to notice what they just did there. They turned something that is probably inherently political or a social issue, regardless where you stand on all those issues, okay? And they just turned it into a spiritual thing. So it's not that you might be like a pro-life, anti-trans person. Now it's not that you just have objections to that. It's you now have a spiritual warfare reason to be against those things. And you need to fight those things with a mentality that says, yeah, he's still talking about Kirk, but but yes, yeah, it isn't. But yes, I understand that it's not spiritual warfare, but in a Pentecostal spiritual warfare mind, Bren, they have now turned it into spiritual warfare. They have turned it into something where they emotionally get behind it like a warrior inside a battle. Like when you talk to soldiers, they will tell you you don't really think during a battle. You just do what you were trained to do, conditioning. Okay, so if you condition people to dislike or hate something, and then you make it into a spiritual thing, then that becomes a problem. Okay, so now it's more than just a social issue. It's more than just a social debate now to a Pentecostal believer who believes in spiritual warfare. He's just made it into something that it's about God versus everybody else. It's about God versus the devil. Okay, and so they've endowed it with this new sense of meaning that's very emotionally attached to their faith, which is why, like, if you try to talk to somebody about that's a Christian about certain issues, you immediately get a block. I mean, just today, I don't know if Earl would be too upset about this one, but it's like just today, Earl experienced this where she just mentions that she's an atheist and has a problem with Christian nationalism, and they go off like, how dare you? Okay. They have been conditioned to emotionally think that it's more than just a social issue. To them, it's a spiritual issue. To them, that it's something even deeper. And that's what makes this kind of mentality even more scary than just your average fundy. Okay. When I was growing up in this shit, I didn't realize how much my mind was focused to hate something while all the time calling it love, because I'm engaged in this spiritual battle where I'm going up against the forces of darkness. Okay, they notice it's a good evil dichotomy. It's not like sitting down and discussing a social issue with pros, cons, balancing, what's the proper morality, let's look at this rationally, pull out some of our tools in our box and look at the issue that way. Oh no, it's a spiritual issue. God has said this is evil, so therefore we can't even support it in even the slightest manner. And it isn't spiritual warfare. I agree with you, Brent, but that's what they're making it into. Yeah, it was a really shitty feeling, isn't it? Like, I didn't mean to tell on you, Earl. I didn't get your permission ahead of time, but it's such a good example of what happened today to you is what happens to all of us. Like I mentioned, my channel name gets me ire. There is an emotional response to the word atheist that is indoctrinated into these people. Like, atheism isn't just a non-belief in God to these people. It's a spiritual force. Oh, I had your permission. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But it is a spiritual force. Okay. Atheism isn't just a thing like it's a non-belief in God. It's a spiritual force that must be combated. Secularism, you just heard the guy say it a little while ago. It's not just trying to have a society without religion. It's a spiritual force that needs to be fought against. And it is our God-given duty to do that. We are required as soldiers of Jesus Christ to go do this. This is what makes spiritual warfare teaching probably my top 3 most dangerous teachings in the church, because this is where they go. This isn't about, what the trans issue is or what the pro-life issue is or whatever debate socially you want to throw out there. It's about, we have taken a stand because this is the godly stand, and we're going to fight against you because it's our duty as spiritual warfares to do so. That's what makes this shit scary. It's a callback, like with, at least with Islam, this is right in your face. Okay, like they don't hide it, but Christianity kind of hides it in this spiritual warfare jargon. Okay, that creates a very I get it, Bren, spiritual, but to these people, it is. To them, there is a demon behind atheism. Atheism, there's the demonic spirit of atheism. You need to understand, unpack the meaning of what they mean about that. Like, to them, they can't even sit down and listen to me because I'm influenced by a demonic spirit. Okay. I have gotten that in the early days of this channel. I used to get that a lot more than I do now. My mods have kind of scared all these people away. Thank you, my mods. But it's like they used to come at me, when we got to pray this demonic spirit of atheism out of you. You need to understand that you and me rationally looking at that, Bren, are going, yeah, that's stupid. Okay, that's just weird. So there's that. But yeah, it's really, really hard to get this across to these people because they have already been trained to think of atheism as a demonic spiritual force. So how do I debate with that? How do I talk with that? How do I reason with that? Okay, because there's no rationality behind it. I have no allegiance to any God. I have, and they are going to say that's demonic. So what the hell do I do with that, Bren? Okay, like that's some pretty high level indoctrination. And spiritual warfare does this better than nobody else. They create the us versus them mentality. Like, so yeah, it's actively opposing Jesus. Okay. I get it, Brad. Looking at it in my rational mind now, Brad, yeah, I don't understand this stuff either, how they get there. But you need to understand that when you're talking to a theist that believes in spiritual warfare as an atheist, you're not there to debate the existence of God. They're looking at you as influenced by the power of the enemy, and they need to deliver you from that, even if it means your life. It's the same middle-age mentality that said, we got to get rid of the spiritual warfare spirit in this person by burning them at the stake. It is really literally the same shit. Okay. So yeah, it's like that. Yeah, I don't want to be responsible for what I do. So yes, dog whistles are definitely here. Yeah, about me that wasn't true. Didn't bother to ask. 100% convinced she was right. This is what I'm talking about, Earl. They have been, and everybody gets trained. If you're in a group like this is why I really I don't identify with groups very well at all, any of them. But the Christian one is the hardest one to get over. And I am the worst. I have literally had people a couple of years ago tell me that the worst layers of hell were reserved for me because I was a traitor to Christ because I became an atheist. And how do you talk to somebody with that mentality? Like, how do you reason with somebody that automatically has you in this hole and they're absolutely convinced that they're right about you? They don't know me from shit. They haven't gotten to know me at all. Okay. But somehow I've checked off all their boxes of how they've been indoctrinated. And it's scary. Okay. It's scary. All right, let's see what else they're going to say. I'm sure this will trigger some more of us.
Dresses are like politics. Why? Because they divide us, take sides. So the word politics is a demonic word in the demonic kingdom because it separates us. Same way, religion, church, state, they separate us. You see, the devil has methods how to separate one from.
Do you really think that these guys are all that self-aware that their spiritual warfare talk is also very divisive? Like the lack of self-awareness in that statement. It's like, dude, you are literally saying that all these things are demonic and you're the one that's righteous. How does that not create the same thing, this divisiveness? Like somehow the devil's the only one that separates stuff. He's talking about church and state being separated as a demonic idea. It's like, oh yes. Yeah. I don't, but yeah, it was kind of bad for you, Earl. I saw the text. Yeah, but yeah, it's like I don't understand this. I don't like groups. I don't like stuff like that. And maybe it's the autism for some of us, but it's like we don't feel like we belong to the human race half the time. I certainly have that feeling about twice every day now. But yes, I don't understand how this person the mentality here is that anything that separates is demonic. Well, what the hell are you doing? Like, you are literally talking about how you're this holy spiritual warfare and all these are demonic forces that you want to defeat. How is that not divisive? Okay. Yeah, they know better. They know what we think, why we think, and we're all obviously hurt F off. So, yeah, see you there. Yeah, I mean, I was like threatening to kick a putty with her. It really does tell me, True, that maybe they don't have, maybe religion teaches you not to be self-aware. Like, is there an element in indoctrination where self-awareness is kind of stripped from you? And I have to ask that question. I think there is, and having done the indoctrination, I'm trying to think about how I did it when I was a Christian education pastor. But basically, it's kind of like it's okay when we think this way, but it's not okay when everybody else is that. Yeah, there's politics isn't demonic, Although in spirit, Brad, I have to kind of chuckle at that. That was kind of like, well, my sense of humor caught me there on that one. Yeah. Watching a different video, yes. If I was the devil, I would have invented Christianity. you do realize you've kind of given proof that the devil might exist. There, hey, asshole, waving your hand. I still don't see that, Earl. Most prominent left-leaning politicians came out and decried the violence. I tried to point that out to my Republican friends, and because I keep them because I want to hear what they have to say. Yeah, I let them post, and I often don't comment on it because I want to see what right, left, and center are posting about shit. And they're like, well, these people advocated for violence and that, they got it. I'm like, I don't see that. Let's see. Obama came out, Newsom in California, almost a whole bunch of them came out and said what happened is tragic and should not happen in America. So, if there was a jubilant leftist, and there are probably some, Earl, I would have shouted them down and said, this is not something to celebrate. I hate that. I'm going to be honest. If there's something that does trigger me, it's when people celebrate the death of somebody else. Like, it's like, yeah, they died and maybe the problem is over. Like, I can see some people in history where people might have celebrated their death because they were such evil pieces of shit. But I don't consider Charlie Kirk such an evil piece of shit simply because he talked about stuff I don't agree with, that I can't be saddened by his death and saddened for his family and his kids. But I don't remember. There's a lot of boogeymen, okay, in politics, and that may be one of them. I'm sure that somebody exists that was dancing, about it, but at the same time, I would have said that's just not something to dance over. It's like I said earlier, I don't consider it a victory. How is it a victory if they died still believing stupidness? It's like, that's not a victory for me if I think I'm right. So there's that. Well, it's argued that religions are just big cults and cults are just small religions. So same. Yeah, I think that it's shitty opinions. Just for having shitty opinions doesn't mean you deserve death. So yeah, he's never going to have a chance to be a better human being, and that's sad. You've taken away all the opportunities a person had to change, and people do change. I am a case in point. Okay, I used to be Charlie Kirk. Okay, on a smaller level without the popularity, but I used to have those viewpoints when I was a Christian. Now I don't. It would have been very interesting to see if Kirk would have changed. And now we've been robbed of seeing whether that would happen. Do we feel we have better arguments, or, are we just conceited? Yeah, to me, most leftists were horrified by it. It's like, it's just not the way it works. So, but yeah, they're talking about Kirk and they're trying to deify him. I think that's wrong, but I also think the jumping up and down over his death in celebration is also wrong. Like, it's tragic, and that's the way it is, and that's the way it should be perceived, I think.
Another, but if the reality is not that, it's good versus evil.
Yeah.
And when it's called out.
Okay, I just said it. You're sitting there talking about all the things the devil is doing divisive, but then you just said it's good versus evil. How is that not divisive?
You rattle the cage of the enemy.
And I love that you share that, John, because you have an authority to speak into that, in that you lived behind enemy lines for a while.
5 years. I thought God was slow. I said, it was slow to come pick me up. I was behind, like the movie, behind enemy lines.
True.
Yeah, I was like, Lord, you were a little slow picking me up, but I have no regrets. To be worst, I was at the highest level of the demonic kingdom. No regrets, because it led me to Jesus Christ, and I can live with that.
And when you see what's going on, even in our nation right now, and like you said, you can see the strategy of the enemy behind that.
Oh, you can see every raindrop of the demonic kingdom trying to rain on us, trying to dominate us, trying to captivate us. Because if I can captivate you, I can incarcerate you. Right. So if I can send temptation that you're attracted to.
Yes, absolutely, Cranky. His audience is Christians. He's speaking to people he can use these emotionally preloaded words with, and it just gets them going. Okay, like he's definitely talking to the choir. Okay, I picked him out. See, I'm going to pick out people like these that think they're talking to the choir when I do these sermon reactions or talk reactions, because the reason I do that is I want to show you how this works. Okay, because a lot of people think if they just show the reason to a Christian or a Pentecostal that that's going to get them to rethink things. It's just not true. The indoctrination level goes at an emotional level. You have to kind of very nicely attack their emotional reasons for faith. Religion and faith and belief are very emotionally based. There's no rationality really to it. It's why I stayed in so long, was the emotional reasons. That's why I've always said you've got to deal with the emotional reasons of why somebody's a believer before they'll even consider the rational reasons of why they shouldn't. So it's an easy, yeah. I want to get to this point too, Ray. I see what you said there, and I agree with you. I think he was an easy target for Pentecostal Christians because he was already a spiritual type person. And so I'm working for one team. I want to be traded to the other team. Okay, that's kind of what his testimony is I traded to the other team. But it's not, it's a hard thing to get a person to maybe consider maybe the whole spiritualism thing is just a load of shit. Okay, that takes a little, because people are very emotionally attached to their woo. Okay, like I don't care what woo you're attached to, what form of Christianity, everything, you're attached to your woo. Okay, and it's like, yeah, even Aaron Ross said the last thing that left for him was the belief in karma. What goes come around comes around. I'm like, I'm sorry, I got rid of that one faster than he did, because I'm like, there's some good people that have had some really shitty things happen to them in life and it never gets better. Okay, and then there's other people that are absolute pieces of crap and they get all the good stuff and they never face justice or whatever. So yeah, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't know. These people shift. All he did was change teams, but it's the same woo. But now he thinks he's fighting for the good guys instead of the bad guys. So yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of people that were, I think with Kirk, they were just like, and the best way to show who Charlie really was just quote him. I mean, it's not like his statements weren't on the record. And some people got mad that you quoted him. Like, I'm just quoting him. Okay, I'm quoting the guy. So these Penties love alliteration. Yes, they do. So the demonic kingdom is the current government. Yes, probably. So now you've created this divisive idea that the government's the problem, but then he doesn't want to say that either. Okay, so there you go. Yeah, I'll pat your head too. There you go. Yes, everybody pat Earl's head and Fred's head and all the other people that need head pats. Yeah, I think some people weren't crying. Like they had no reason to mourn, but they also had no reason to celebrate either. So Earl loves head pats. So always.
And then you become a victim of what the enemy's plot, schemes, and what are. No temptation is common to man that God doesn't make a way to escape. But if the temptation becomes attractive, you become a victim of the enemy, plot, schemes, and wars over your life. We only fall into temptation to when we are attracted, because the devil ministry, number one ministry, is temptation. He tempted the angels from heaven. He tempted Adam and Eve. He tempted Judas to betray Jesus. He even tempted Peter, right? And what Jesus said, I pray for you. The devil has permission to shift it. I pray for you. So don't give in to temptation. Don't give in to the crowd. Find the truth from Genesis.
Okay, Brent makes an excellent comment at this point, because the way this guy is reasoning, it's like, who's more powerful, the demonic kingdom or God, the kingdom of God? And this was always something that bothered me about Christianity in general, is supposedly you're on the winning side, but you always seem to be getting your ass kicked. So did God really have the power or not? Okay, so it's I don't know. I think it's going to be really weird in the future to deal with this. I have never really understood this concept, even when I was in the Pentecostal church, because I like the language seems to sound like we're getting our butts kicked, but then we want to rah rah and say we're winning. It's like the team, whatever team sport you want to use, that's 1-11. They won one game and lost 11, but we're still the best team out there. So there's that. Oh, yeah, I wasn't happy about it. Judas to be celebrated. There we go. Head pats for everyone. There we go. We kind of need this today, Earl. I'm what a week. I'm exhausted from trying to just be myself. There we go. If there's fundamentalists and there's Pentecostal fundamentalists. Okay, I came out of Pentecostal fundamentalists, and I would happily endorse what I just said as the truth. You're right. Like Pentecostal extremism is worse than fundy extremism because it's not just about what you believe, it's about what you do and what happens to you. Like if you're not experiencing miracles, there's something wrong with your Pentecostalism. So there's a lot of reinforcing of, various cognitive biases in Pentecostalism to get there. So there you go.
To revelation, the truth lives there. That's what we should live all day long, every day, right? Because we are vessels of honor that God, my friend has a brand, his name is Juan Martinez. He has a brand called Heaven. We are citizens of heaven. We just been dropped off on the earth.
I love that. I love that. We are.
And there's another mentality that really bothers me too, because like as much as I joke about being an alien on the wrong planet, I recognize that I'm a human being with the rest of my human beings. But there's an extreme form of this idea of we are not from here that kind of leads to a lot of problems. And I think this is something that this guy is definitely promoting. Like, I remember the old Petra song, "We Are Strangers, we're not of this world." It was the title of one of their albums. And the whole idea is we're here, we're kind of captives here, but we don't really have to do anything about the real problems that humanity faces because someday we're all going to get in that ship, that good old gospel ship, and fly beyond the size. It's like it's the escapism of living in reality, and you can live in this fantasy where you don't actually have to do anything to help humanity, but pass yourself off as humanity's greatest saviors. And it's an attitude that really, really bothers me because Christians use this all the time of, well, this isn't the world I'm working for, and Islam has this too. Like we want it all to end to start the new thing. Like there's a lot of religions that are like, yeah, let's just burn it down. And it's like, you do realize this is the only house everybody lives in, right? Yeah. So yeah. Build yourself up there, John. Your humility is totally shocking. Yeah, why follow God if he's powerless? Yeah, they're the most normal of people until they talk. Oh, God wants all to be saved. He supposedly wins the final battle but loses the war as according to God's stated objective. Yes. If God's objective is to win all humanity to himself, he failed. He failed the moment he drowned everybody in a flood. Like the moment he created hell to throw people in, he failed. He's admitting his failure. And God is not powerful enough, smart enough, wise enough to reach all of us. He can only reach an elect few. Sounds very, very suspiciously religious and very man-made to me. But yeah, there you go.
Truly called to be those people that live on the other side of the cross, walking in the victory that Jesus purchased for us.
Yeah, Jesus purchased, and he holds the pen of your story, and he's writing an amazing story. That's why I tell people, listen, I'm not even qualified to write books, Larry. I'm not qualified to be up here with you today. I'm not qualified to be out on a plane or go somewhere on a platform to preach. But God made a way, and he holds the pen of the story. And if he holds the pen, then you don't need whiteout. He's writing them. But if you do your own, then you're going to need a lot of whiteout. But if Jesus does it, people will remember Larry Spark. The day Larry Spark go home with the Lord, we will know him. We will know his ministry. We will know his purpose. We will know his destiny because he left his fingerprint on the earth.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there, but I could probably boil it all down to if you let God write your story and you pretend that God is writing your story, it's going to be a great story. I used to hear that analogy. Boy, that takes me back 25 years because I originally heard the whiteout analogy a long time ago when I was still in the church. Like, if you write it yourself, you're going to need a lot of whiteout. But if God writes it, it'll be great. And it's like, I've heard that before. And it's weird to see it pull out again. But yeah, it's like, if God's writing such a great story, yeah, I mean, like God couldn't even save his own people from the Holocaust. I remember, isn't there a line on one of the walls of Auschwitz? Somebody reported this, and I don't know if it was true, but it sounds reasonable. Where somebody wrote, "If there is a God, he owes me an apology," or something to that effect. There are some people like that. Is what he just said is you have lived a very privileged life without a lot of problems, really, there, my friend. He's going to go into some of the problems, but they're common human problems that everybody faces. And to me, there's a lot of stories that I know of that if God's in charge of their story, it was A, short, and B, brutal. Like, I don't understand the mentality of a person that says, well, the reason my story is so good is God wrote it. Well, God writes everybody's story, doesn't he? And then what about these stories? A person born with, congenital birth defects that lead to their death. How's that God? God must have wanted that too. It's like people live their life, they run into a horrible circumstance that actually destroys every meaningful bit of humanity they have. They live another year and then they die. You want to tell me that God wrote that story too? I mean, I don't know how you can make such a statement without having lived a very good life. Like, I can say that I have been a very privileged person that has lived a good life, and I didn't need God for that. I don't need God for it now anymore. Okay, like it's a lot of it is mentality. And I said, but I also realize that there's some people that wake up today and they're absolutely miserable circumstances, and tomorrow they will not wake up. Okay, and somehow your God has also written that story. And it's not due to anything about them. It's not doing, and it's like the circumstances they've been born in and live in. It's like, I'm sorry, this is a very privileged statement that he just made, okay, about living where he lives in a society that gives him a lot of benefits, whereas other people don't have that. Okay, like I don't understand how you can make those kind of statements. Yeah, God will have to beg for my forgiveness. Yes, I think that was an actual report that I read once, but I can see that. Like, I can see somebody who is in that circumstances, whether that's true or not, I can see why they would write that statement. Like, I don't think Decibel's a Christian, so he's not. There are a few believers in other things around here, Brendan. It doesn't mean they're necessarily Christians. So, but some people keep, and I let them wrestle. Let them wrestle. They'll be here.
Oh, Lord, may it be said of all of us that we leave that fingerprint on the earth.
On the earth.
Two things I want to do. I'm putting up a link. If you want to get the new book, Out of the Devil's Cauldron.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. They basically go into shilling the book, and he gives a little bit more of his last year personal testimony where his mother died and a few other things, and how God has gotten him through it. And so, yeah, you can't see other viewpoints. So it's like, the problem I have with doing videos like this, and I want to continue to do videos like this, I was hoping to do is he actually had a radio sermon that I would have rather done on Halloween. I'll try to find something similar. But when I tried to convert it, it turned into Spanish. I don't know. I think he has a setting on there that prevents people from like copying his stuff and using it. And this time I got him when he's doing an interview on another channel. So John Ramirez might very well be very protective of his stuff and doesn't like to be used in other ways and that sort of thing. And that may be a spiritual belief of his own. So, yeah, it's a deep rabbit hole. Okay. Like you need to understand there's fundamentalists and then there's super fundamentalists. Okay. And Pentecostals definitely apply. Like I remember being a Pentecostal, and that was a matter of pride that we were the best followers of the Bible ever. Okay. So, like, we actually believed in the miracles and we actually saw them in our services, and we saw people speaking in tongues in our services. All those other churches are dead, but we're the real ones that are really fighting the spiritual warfare and all this other crap. And, me and Earl are going to do a Halloween stream where she's going to talk about her woo, and I'm going to talk about mine in the Pentecostal church because there's a lot of similarities. But it's like there's an element of there are certain rabbit holes that we do. I don't know if we worship the rabbit holes, but we do worship the rabbit, the ultimate rabbit here. So there we go. Yes. There's the Rabyd Atheist, and then there's the Rabyd Atheist Fangs. So yeah, he's an atheist deity that draws strength from unbelief. So one of two. So him and atheismo. So, but yes, it is a deep rabbit hole, Toad. I could tell a lot of horror stories of people who believe certain spiritual things and absolutely ruined their life. Like I had a woman, she had a husband, great guy. But she believed very sincerely that God was telling her to divorce her husband. And what it really was is she was like getting banged by some other guy, and apparently the sex was better, but she justified it with her spiritual belief and absolutely shattered their relationship over that. Okay. And then you'll have fundies that won't get into relationships with or talk with people like me because I'm an atheist. Okay. So it really is something that you have to remember when you're dealing with certain people, that they may be of this belief system that looks at you as the enemy simply because you're not them. Okay. Like you aren't the real believer. Like Pentecostals are enemies with other Christians. Like they look at like the Catholic Church, the Lutheran Church, all those like mainline Methodism, stuff like that, and they would classify those as dead churches. Like they're the dead church. So it's one of those things that happens all the time. And so there you are. Mind you, Fangs is sensitive about rabbit holes since they're the Jericho thingy. Yes. They're also the Noah's Ark thingy too, just so a little foreshadowing of the book there. Yes, this is my favorite Fangs too. He's very cute in this one. We have the cutest deity ever. Like, totally man-made, made-up deity, but man, what a cute little bunny. Like, I'm not into cute all the time, but I am definitely into Fangs cute. Like, he is cute. So, yes, you do have to talk to them like they're addicts. Okay, like, dude, you're addicted to this stuff that ain't even reality. Because I will submit to you, there's a reason why like infidelity, quote unquote, is very high in the Pentecostal church. That's something I don't like to talk about. But the endorphin rush of being a Pentecostal and the same endorphin rush of sex are very similar. And so it's like it's not hard to go from one to the other. So there's that. So, hey, Fred, thanks. I don't know what happened to my goal here. That should be 3, maybe 4. I thought 4. Hey, Ron. The incident. The incident. He's only trying to help. Yes. Yes. Fangs is always just trying to help. You got to remember his dealings with Yahweh is when he was a young deity and he still was getting used to the idea of the very concept of responsibility. So Fangs does some silly, youthful, teenage type stuff. So that's kind of the way he is. But as we get further in the story, he gets more mature. I've made Fangs in the story a dynamic deity, like a dynamic character. He changes. He talks about his changes over time, how he changed his mind about stuff. So it's a personal growth book for Fangs too. So yeah, it should be at 4. I don't know. For me, it's still sitting at 3 for some reason, but I will count it as 4. So one more. Here, let me. Maybe it's my. There we go. There we go. Still 3 for me for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's the Australian dollars this time. Maybe, Fred, is the Aussie dollars just aren't counting for YouTube right now. It's quite possible. Australia, land that never gets any respect. It's the Rodney Dangerfield of nations, I swear. So, oh. Yeah, I love you, Fred, and I love Aussies. I actually want to. If I ever get to Australia, there's a few things I want to do, and one of them is catch a live Australian rules football game. I definitely want to do that. I want to go to one of them. I'm absolutely down, and I want to see a live rugby game between Australia and New Zealand. I want to see that too. So, because that'll be lit. So. I would also, when comparing every evangelical counts in two playing Christians. Okay. I love your friend. Yeah, your beef is with YouTube, not me. I'm counting it. YouTube isn't for some reason. But one more, and I'll consider the goal achieved. So, and the Holy Bunny hat is winning. You might be able to get to see me wear it for 10 minutes at this point, but the Jewish creationist churches are common as the bars where I live. The city I live has been called Beer City for the last 10 years. Okay, there you go. Cricket bat. Oh, I don't know if I want to see a game of cricket. There's an old British humorist that said something to the effect about cricket. It's like a whole bunch of people standing around and taking it very seriously. I feel the same way about American baseball, by the way. Sorry to all the baseball fans, but I've never been able to get into games where you stand for 90% of the time. Oh, yes, let's see. I'm going through it. Yeah, I got 4. And for some reason, YouTube is not registering. Fred's. You have to talk to YouTube about that, Fred. So there you go. The idea of being connected to a father through a son has been broken to pieces in my life experience. A child is often nothing like his parents. Yes. That's another thing that is interesting to me too, as well. So, it looks like, okay, achievement unlocked. Yeah, it's not counting them for some reason. The goal is not counting them. Oh, the time ended before the goal was reached. Okay, so I probably hit 2 hours instead of 3. That was probably my bad. So, but it counts. So, folks, you know what? I got to get up. There we go. Because I was cleaning the hat earlier today, knowing that it might come up. There you go. There you go. Achievement unlocked, hat fund. There we go. Thank you all. I appreciate all of you for doing that. So it's the Holy Bunny hat at the end. Yes. So there we go. But yes, I ended up cleaning it off a little bit because it got some dust on some of it. It still needs to be cleaned a little bit, but it's one of the hats that just draws dust because of all the fuzzies. Yes, Holy Bunny hat, Holy Fangs. Jewish creationism does exist, though, Bren. Bren, I hate to make you do an autistic deep dive of that, but look up Jewish creationism. You're in for a treat. any new Fangs dogma? See, the problem is I'm saving a lot of it for the book, so I'm trying not to speak dogmatically with the hat on. I can tell you that at present in the book, Fangs is learning about his powers through various ways. So, yes, the fuzzies are most holy, and they do collect dust bunnies. So it makes sense that the holy bunny hat would collect dust bunnies. I'll grant that. So it makes perfect sense. But New Fang's dogma, I don't know. I can tell you this: as our God Fangs is inspiring me to write his memoirs, his misadventures. I have gotten a lot of ideas of how those memories should go. So it's going to be. He has no literary interest whatsoever. Yeah, I mean I know Earl gets her inspiration when he sleeps on her lap, and Fang shows up for my interviews every once in a while, and I interview him, and sometimes he's very evasive in his answers, like all trickster gods. He's not going to tell you the whole truth. It's kind of the gray truth, as one. I remember seeing that in a D&D character. Oh gosh, an old D&D character where this wizard had passed a permanent suggestion on himself to only give the gray truth, and that's kind of how Fangs is sometimes. So, I'll dust bunny. Yes, but it makes perfect sense that the holy bunny hat collects dust bunnies. So, yeah, he's better in the sense that Fangs. I could tell you this about Fangs. Okay, as I'm writing him, and he's starting to develop some character qualities as I start to write about him. Fangs is trying. Okay, he's trying to be a good bunny. He really is. Okay. Yeah, he can't type either, really. I mean, we draw him in his cartoon state, in his half transitional state from between human and ever. He has to kind of take on human qualities to have an opposable thumb, and that's kind of our. But in his normal, regular form, he doesn't have opposable thumbs. So, but yeah, it's. I don't know. I'm learning that Fangs as a character is becoming a person that is trying to do the right thing, but is faced with incredible oppositions from an asshole. Okay, so he's got his powers, but they're not quite as strong as Yahweh's, and so he has to be sneaky about it. But he's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to be a good bunny. And unfortunately for him, he was spawned out of the party barn at the same time as Yahweh. So, and he has to deal with Yahweh, and Yahweh makes things difficult. And so, and then there's we've introduced the character of Yahweh's first wife, Asherah. I don't know if he'll have a second, but that was not a very long-lasting marriage, by the way. It didn't last very long. So I can tell you that part. But yes, Fangs is, in my mind, is starting to be the good bunny that is faced with assholes. So it's kind of like he's trying his best. He really is. And unfortunately, he has to deal with somebody who doesn't have a lot of respect for life, who doesn't have a lot of respect for people's choices, who doesn't have a lot of respect for just leaving people to hell alone and letting them be what they want to be. And Fangs is like, how do I stop this idiot? How do I thwart this idiot's plans? And the misadventures of Fangs is very much about Fangs trying to stop Yahweh from doing something harmful. And so, yeah, he's a good deity, but he's kind of he's still like a Loki. Cross Loki with a good person. And then you kind of get the idea. But yeah, but it's been a lot of fun. Like, I have had so much fun with this character. Of all the characters that I've created, and with the help of Earl in this particular case, it's just been so much fun. Saw Franks' friends at the protest here in Portland. You might have. But yeah, it's like it's just I've had so much fun with this, and my theology degree is actually working again. Like I can actually use shit from it. Yeah, Fangs versus Yahweh, pretty much. Like I can tell you, because I think I've said this before in another stream of Fangsology, that Jesus Christ is actually Fangs' child. Like it's the lore behind that is Fangs was pretending to be JFK, and that's the real reason why Marilyn Monroe got involved with him. And Marilyn Monroe accidentally gets pregnant, and so Fang takes the zygote and travels back in time with super speed and finds the first Jewish girl, pretends to be an angel. He was drunk at the time, and puts the zygote inside the virgin girl, and she interprets that as God has selected her for the Messiah. And Yahweh doesn't want to have anything to do with JC at first until he becomes popular, and then he makes the claim that it's actually his child, but it's not. So, and I made the remark that's just as believable a story as the one in the Bible. So, yeah. Yeah, Christopher finally just didn't turn your dog's mom into a hoe, just saying. Yeah, Fangs is Jesus Christ's father. Okay. And Marilyn Monroe is actually Jesus Christ's mother. That's why he's white. That's why he stands out. That's why all the pictures of him show him white. So, Fangs was very drunk at the time. Like he was not thinking clearly. He's learned that time travel and alcohol don't mix. It's not a good combination. So, and he bemoans that fact because, JC is kind of a decent human being at times, and the problem is Yahweh kind of corrupts him, and Fangs is trying to take responsibility, and but for the situation, but it's kind of hard. It's complicated. But that's been a part of the lore for a long time, and I'm thinking about now as I go through the other stories how to connect that up with that story, and it's going to be interesting. But yes, but Fangs is JC's father. Yes, it's a true story. Prove it didn't happen. Prove it didn't happen. One of my favorite lines in the movie Saved is when the kid in the wheelchair says, "I don't think Jesus was white." He says, "Yeah, he was white because What's the matter? What's the so, oh my goodness. Asshole, we love you, man. I'm sure you can feel it. But yeah, I'm having so much fun with this. This is like I think what's going to end up happening is I'm going to bounce around a little bit between the stories because I can write each individual story. I just then have to link them together with a plot device. So it's possible that you could be JC's father. I can't unprove that. I'm going to do presuppositional apologetics for you, Ray. You're right. JC could be your kid. So there you go. It's going to be great. Potatoes, that wouldn't be dangerous. He learned otherwise. Yeah, there's a lot of that in there too, Fred. Like, Fangs is a young deity. He's trying to figure shit out still. Okay, like when the book is written, it's his memoirs that he's giving to me. Like Fangs breaks the fourth wall a lot too. Like he talks about how he's just a fictitious deity made up to illustrate the absurdity of religions by his creators, so he does that a lot, but like he will experiment with stuff and oops, that wasn't a good combo. So like alcohol and time travel lead to creation of Christianity. I think that's perfectly feasible. Yeah. I'm sorry. Your dog needs therapy. I thought that the dog was your therapy dog. So now your therapy dog needs therapy. Now I can believe that, given it's you, asshole, alone. But have we also committed to the scarring of your poor dog? So brought the hat out. Yeah, it's a Holy Bunny hat. I have to be careful talking about fangs because it becomes dogma when I'm wearing the hat. That's the key to creating dogmas. Make sure you're wearing a very special hat to create dogma. Works for all the other religions. We figured it would work for ours. So there you go. Oh yeah, still doing stuff that's silly at the end of streams. We do it. Like it's fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah, poor Hellhound. See, the thing is, the Hellhound is cute too. Like, I remember when Earl first showed me that picture, as so I was like, well, that's a cute little devil dog. Like, it's cute. And Fangs is cute, and there's just a lot of cuteness. I love this stuff. It's great. But yes, we've had a lot of fun with this. So, but yeah, it's just I've enjoyed illustrating the absurdity of religion with Fangs. It's going to be great. Rabbit Ma. Shouldn't Dogman be called Rabbit Ma? Yeah, it might be a valid criticism. Rabbit Ma. Yeah, instead of Dogma. Yeah, because yeah, we got to get. Let's see. Could we call it Bunny Ma? Bunny Ma, Rabbit Ma, Hair Ma. There we go. Hair Ma. So I speak when I'm wearing the hat. I speak Hair Ma. There we go. There we go. Oh, they were on a mission from Fangs, though. Yes, they were. One of my favorite I Killed Earl images, actually, is the Fangs blue one. We're on a mission from me. So there you go. Oh my goodness. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Oh, and Fangs and sunglasses, still one of the better moments. Oh my goodness. Hairma. Yeah, we don't have Dogma here. We have Hairma. Hairma, I have to remember that. If I don't remember that, just remind me. I have a bad memory. That's why my bad memory is actually the reason why Fangs chose me to relay his truth to the world, is my bad memory. According to Fangs, it helps to have a bad memory when it comes to theology. So he's probably correct. And a marriage shall be called to her. Oh, yeah, we will. I know we will. Oh my goodness. Yes. What have I done? What have I done to myself? There are days when Fangs is like that, like, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done to the world? So, but yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yes, but yeah, I don't know. I've had more fun with this. I've had more laughs with it, but I've also illustrated a lot of good points with it too. Like Dogma, Hairma, what's the difference? What's the difference? Oh my goodness. Oh, I think with that note though, I'm probably going to call it a night, folks, because I just want to remind people, based on the video that we watched, that there are fundamentalists and then there are people that go beyond that. And I did want to put this one up. You know, there you go. It's one of my favorites. So there you go. Still one of my favorites now, Fred. I love this one. Fangs doesn't look so happy, but everybody else seems happy. So there you go. All right, boys, I'm going to call it a night. I really need to get something to eat and relax and enjoy the rest of my night off from work and get some things done, including some rewrites and stuff like that. And looking at some of my videos as well. So we'll see that. So, but later, everybody, appreciate all of you. May fangs nibble on all of your hearts. May he use his fangs to take the religious corruption out of all your vegetables. May you always remember to leave a carrot out as an offering for fangs, and make sure you make it more holy by circumcising the tip off of it. May he cuddle up to you and sink his fangs into your little heart and make you a better person. So, so there's that. Yeah, that's probably valid. So there you go. There you go. But nom nom and all of that stuff. And as always, live your best life. Have fun with it too, because you only get one go around and then it's over. So you want to take all your time, money, and opportunities and give them to yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. And don't waste them on the trappings of religion and faith, because that is a dead end. I speak from experience. And I'll see you all again on Monday at the Fireside Chat. I'll see you then. And until then, have a great evening and have a great rest of your weekend.
It's time to take a stand, bringing the truth to a fucked up land.